Married couples, what advice would you give to young couples? My husband and I have a rule to always treat each other like we're on the same team. Having an explicit rule comes in handy for giving us language to use when it doesn't feel like one of us is doing that. A gentle, "it doesn't feel like we're on the same team right now," does wonders for reorienting the other away from anger and toward the problem at hand. Here are two of the best pieces of advice that one of our ninongs, primary sponsors, said when we announced our plan to marry. 1. Marry when you are both ready. And 2. You should be able to accept every fault and weakness in your partner's being. If you do, then you're ready to get married. 2 is very good advice in my opinion, since I've seen a lot of failed marriages wherein both parties are either completely incompatible or have issues with each other's personalities, habits, and lifestyle choices, and they expect marriage will either fix that or the things that each hate will somehow improve. Expect that nothing drastic will change with your partner after marriage. She is a slob that doesn't wash properly? She'll still be a slob the next hour after you said your vows. He keeps getting on your nerves by being a smartass and a sarcastic son of a bitch? Guess what? He'll still be that way the next morning after the reception. Don't stress over the little shit. You'll get annoyed at things you didn't think possible, like how they organize themselves, how they load the dishwasher, and differences in opinions for trivial things. Let that shit go. Think about what truly matters to you before you start an argument over your misplaced toothbrush, the color of paint to use in the living room, or what's going to be in the garage at 10 p.m. with all the swearing. This will differ a bit, but this is coming from a man that's been married for 14 years with 2 kids. A lot of parenting groups call this picking your hill to die on. You can be super sure into making sure everything is done your version of right. You won't be happy, and I doubt you'll succeed. And if you do, no one else is happy. So pick the small number of things that really matter to you to stress over. Then, set everyone up for success on those things. Setting everyone up for success may just mean conveying how important it is that a certain thing happens a certain way. It may just mean adjusting your expectations slightly downward, but it may involve more work on your part. Maybe you pick how the dishwasher is loaded. Sounds silly to me, but I'm not you. Be prepared to own it. Divide out chores so you're loading the dishes rather than spending every day correcting someone else's approach. Your partner puts away clean dishes, or you own the dishes and they own the laundry. I got annoyed that my wife never unloaded the dishwasher during the day, so my solution is that I unload it in the morning while I am making coffee. That way I can reload it in the evening and get it running so I can unload it again the next morning. Instead of getting into a pointless argument, I found a way to get the job done. I do plenty of things that annoy my wife and that she has to find a workaround for. This is the same, just me finding my own workaround. Just get up and do what needs to be done. Don't expect the wife to manage the house and your life for you. She's not your mother and does not want to be, especially if you have children. Don't say that you're babysitting your own children. It's called parenting. Don't expect praise every time you do something around the house. We have been married for 13 years, together for 15. Spend quality time together. Shut your phone off and go for a walk. Cook a meal together. Find a hobby you both enjoy. Heck, you can have a lot of fun just doing household chores together. If you don't spend time together, you are going to drift apart. I was severely burned in a bushfire 5 years ago and was diagnosed with brain cancer a year later. My burn broke me. I fell into a terrible pit of depression. I spent most of the next year lying on the couch, pissed off at the world. All of my relationships deteriorated in that time just because I separated myself from everything. But our marriage suffered the most. Unfortunately, my diagnosis made things even worse. My prognosis was quite grim. People in my position live for an average of 37 weeks. I have seen other people go through similar things. One of 2 things usually happens. It will draw them closer together, or one or both people will use destructive coping mechanisms to help cope with the fear and pain. Once we realized what was happening, we started coming closer together again. When we were newly married, we spent a lot of time fishing, just the 2 of us on a riverbank, sitting on buckets, trying to catch fish. The beauty of time like that is there is nothing to distract you from each other. It gives you a lot of time to just talk and get to know each other better. I've had 2 cancer recurrences that looked like the beginning of my end. I just started a new treatment that is working very well. We've been able to get back fishing a lot this summer. Sometimes just the 2 of us, and sometimes we take the kids along too. Assemble a piece of flat pack furniture together that neither of you have assembled before, or do a small home improvement task neither of you have done before. Before making a big commitment, You need to see each other frustrated and confused while you are also frustrated and confused. Learning how to work together in spite of those things is a huge deal for long-term success. Kindness. Don't be short, rude, and proud. You have to live with this person for the rest of your life. Always be kind. Forgive. You aren't immune to making any of the same mistakes. You're not as perfect as you think you are. Don't dwell on the negative in one another. This is a bad mental path to get on. You are both imperfect. Compliment one another on your strengths, and help one another with weaknesses. Be committed. Life will change. You both will change. There is security and commitment. There is trust when you feel secure. Just a few things. 12 years, 3 kids, still learning. Do things your spouse enjoys, and don't keep score. For example, my wife loves to go to soccer games, but I don't. And I love horror movies, but my wife doesn't. But I still go to games with her, and she still watches horror movies with me. Support each other's hobbies and interests. Alternatively, learn that you don't have to do everything together. My wife likes movies, I don't. She goes to them with friends instead of me. I like basketball and football and cricket, and she doesn't. So if I go to games, I go with my brother-in-law, not her. But she knows the names of the star players of my favorite teams, and occasionally snuggles with me on the couch while I'm watching. And I watch Chinese gay magic swordsman dramas with her, and know way, way more about fabric than you would believe. Support doesn't have to mean involving. Sit down once a month and look over your finances. Always have a master plan on what both of you want, then work together towards that. Communication is everything. Laugh at yourself more than you laugh at them. Fight fair. Both of your families are batshit crazy. Don't hold that against each other. Little love gestures go a long way. Hold hands in public. Save money and create wealth. Head scratches and back rubs have done more for my love life than nice dinners, new cars, and flowers. The rule of 5. Every 5 weeks, go out on a nice date. Every 5 months, take a weekend vacation. And every 5 years, take a 2-week vacation. Compliment them when they look amazing. Sometimes, it's better to have 2 separate things than to compromise on one thing. This can be anything, from stocking 2 different types of toilet paper, having separate electronics, or even sleeping in separate bedrooms. Some people just love telling happy couples how they're going to be unhappy one day. They'll tell you to wait until you've been together X years, you move in together, you get married, you have kids, your kids leave the nest, etc. Don't let these people influence you. Your relationship doesn't have to conform to anyone's standards but your own. You don't have to get married, have kids, wear wedding rings, be monogamous. As long as you both enthusiastically agree to whatever arrangement you have, change your last name, live together, sleep in the same bed, both have a career, etc. As long as you're both happy, it can look however you want it to. Always remember to work on yourself. As your insecurities can easily form into blame towards your partner, they're not doing enough. They're not making me feel special enough. When you're insecure and not doing anything to fix it, it won't matter what your partner does. So always work on yourself. Invite your partner to join you in your goals, and the positivity from your efforts will strengthen your relationship with your partner and how you see yourself. Adjust your marriage to what works best for you, regardless of the norm. Lots of people sleep in different beds, not because anything is wrong, but because that is how they work best as a couple, whether sleep schedules, snoring, whatever makes sleeping together tough. Also, if there is a repeated issue or fight, step back and see how to avoid it. A friend is not a planner, but when we go somewhere and it's not open or full or whatever, she doesn't have a backup plan and it starts a fight with her husband every time. They could avoid these fights by simply making a quick backup plan before leaving. If you want to survive more than a decade in a marriage, be prepared to listen to your spouse. Not just to them speak, but listen, engage. You want to be heard, so hear the other. If/when negative emotions get too intense, don't jump to blame the spouse. It's hard. Try to find ways to interrupt the feeding of negativity from each other's cycle. Take a 5-minute break, claim you need a bathroom break or something. The physical and temporal distancing will help folks calm down. Also, as soon as you calm down, hug the other person and provide some sort of positive physical contact. Goes without saying, keep reinforcing positives and make positive statements frequently. Everybody wants to be loved, and you have to be there for each other. Oh, and one last thing, don't ever take someone else's side against your spouse in public. If they are in the wrong, can happen often, you must find ways to correct that behavior discreetly. If that really doesn't work, because people are obstinate, try to create a distraction. Find an excuse, then talk to your spouse in private. Communicate about everything. no matter how minuscule it seems. Know what you want for yourself and your life. Make sure you are fulfilling your wants and needs by yourself and with the help of your partner. Take the good with the bad. There will be lots of both. Listen and make sure it's clear you are listening. There is no such thing as winning an argument. Marriage is work, but it also rewards you greatly if you put in the effort. Learn to trust your partner. Trust is everything. Different angle to most here, but don't assume a long-term relationship means you need to get married or that they're the one. I hit the point of proposing when realizing my life would be infinitely better with than without my other half. And ever since, that has guided any disagreements, as no petty disagreements is worth being without them. They do make my life better. However, I see some people get engaged and they really don't have that stance. They feel like they are settling or taking a leap of faith, or that they've been together too long to not be engaged and kind of know it won't work. Don't let what the world expects of you drive any big decisions. Get engaged if you feel life with that person is better than life without them/with somebody else. Split up if you genuinely don't feel that way, or just let it glide along and see how things go if you haven't made up your mind. Similarly, if you get engaged and regret it, no matter how scary it is to pull out of an engagement with thousands committed in wedding costs, it's nothing compared to the pain of divorce. Don't even get me started once kids get involved. Planning a wedding may be a good test if you've never truly seen your partner under stress before, / if they were slightly holding back while hoping for you to pop the question. When getting in arguments, try your best not to cross the line. However, there will be arguments, there will be rough patches, there will be times where you won't want to be in the same room. Choose those arguments wisely and ask yourself before you engage, is it worth it? Sometimes it is, and that's okay. Keep your problems in-house. Everyone is an expert when it comes to relationship, so if you tell people about your problems, they will have advice, and at some point, if you keep going to those people and just constantly venting about problems, many people will say you need to leave that person. It's none of their business, and you're the only one who can make that decision. That being said, marriage is truly a wonderful thing. Having a partner in crime to share your life with, having children, creating a home, doing it both your way is awesome. Sometimes you won't even feel like you're married, you just feel like kids playing house, but you actually have a house with children. Even when money gets tight, you're tired and sleep deprived, knowing you have someone to go through it with you, no matter what, is an amazing feeling. Laugh together. Be patient and understanding when one another is having a hard time. Don't be frightened to admit you were wrong. Have exciting sex. Find shared interest, but also give them time for individual interests. Be open about how stuff makes you feel. Your partner is not a mind reader, and your husband needs as much attention and compliments and affection just as a woman does. Tell them you love them often. Tell them when you have really enjoyed doing something together. And that can be just as simple as sitting watching a film or sitting in your garden. Offer to make them a drink. Keep touching each other like you did when you first met, i.e. holding hands, cuddling. Life can be over, but keep doing all of the above. You'll still fight and argue or disagree, but that's life. But only a part of it. Have fun together. I've been married for a few years, but we've been together going on 13. Get on the same page about stuff. Have conversations and see where you both stand on things. If something is a deal breaker, then don't force it. You don't have to break up right away, because maybe your opinion changes, but at least know what the other person is thinking. Live together a few years before you get married. We are both so glad we didn't get married. Didn't feel like a huge change. Be flexible, but divide up the chores. It doesn't have to be exactly even, but it avoids a lot of fights on why the trash didn't get taken out and stuff like that. Get the book The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and both of you should read it. The TLDR is we all generally communicate in our own personal love language, not necessarily our partner's love language. The book gives both people a framework for having discussions about their personal needs without making the conversation hostile or defensive. It can feel awkward at first because finding out your partner's wants, say gifts and kind words, and you aren't used to showing love like that. But you want them to communicate in your love language. Maybe sex? It can feel like a weird artificial trade, but knowing that you are both putting in effort to make your partner feel loved is the real value of the system. After years of fighting and poor communication between my wife and I, we went through this, and now I try to help out more around the house so she gets more free time, and she reciprocates with sex, and it's a win-win. 10 years from now, you and your spouse probably won't be the exact same person that you are today. This can lead to conflict down the road. Try to find compromise and understand each other's points of view. Don't hold grudges. Arguments will happen, but try not to end the day mad at each other. Try to go on dates and do stuff together as much as you can, and tell them you love them every day. Marry your best friend. Someone who already knows how screwed up you are and still loves you. Friendships make for a strong base. Also realize that as people you are going to evolve over the years. Your tastes, your attitude, your political and religious beliefs will also evolve. You must be flexible to love someone no matter what. When your partner says something and you are instantly on the defensive, ask yourself, what story am I making up? Like if they say, we have no food in this house. That is a basic statement. If you find yourself becoming defensive, ask yourself why. What am I making up that they are saying? Example, you to yourself here, God, why can't you be better at grocery shopping? Why can't you stock up better? The SO did not say this, so stop getting defensive and start looking at yourself. It will help stop a lot of fights. Learn how to have a productive argument. No matter how much you love each other, you're totally going to argue sometimes. Try not to place blame on the other person and try to be fair. If you're too angry, hopefully you have a private space where you can take a moment to calm down before you say something hurtful. If you do say something hurtful, however, don't be afraid to apologize. Compromises can almost always be made. Don't keep score when they can't. You don't always need to fix things. Ever try to comfort someone and they got mad? That's when you back off. Tell them kindly that you're there for them when they're ready. Then go do something else. After a while, they'll slink back, pretend like nothing happened, do this a few times, and they probably won't do that anymore. Choose your battles. If everything is worth fighting over, the time when it really matters, their attitude will be, there they go again, and they won't know that this time, it's real. Always treat each other like adults. You don't have the right to control each other. If the other person isn't doing anything illegal, immoral, or in violation of your agreements to each other, let it go. Figure out your finances right away. This is one of the biggest things couples fight over, and you need to come up with a solution early. My husband and I use the yours, mine's, and ours method. We have agreed on what is a fair amount for each of us to contribute to a joint account for shared expenses, and what we have left over from our paychecks is ours to spend how we like. Agree early about family. If one person is really close to their family and the other isn't too into family at all, a compromise has to be reached early and honored. Only merge finances with someone with whom you can have honest, direct conversations about money. If they deflect, get offensive, cry, yell, or shut down when they have to talk about money, don't marry them, or otherwise merge finances. In a marriage, there are so many business and money-related decisions you have to make together. You need to know the truth and have to be snide to have a civil conversation to reach an agreement. Have honest, thorough conversations about things like money, children, and professional goals before you get married. Once you're married, if you're struggling with someone or arguing a lot, get counseling. Don't wait until you're too angry or entrenched for it to make a difference. Manage your finances together. Don't let one partner handle the bills. I made that mistake way too many times and led to way too many fights and drained accounts. Combined, we both made a comfortable living, yet we had debt and low savings account I was unaware of. Late fees and unnecessary fees she thought were normal. Make sure you communicate about all expenses and don't hide any purchases. Communicate. Doesn't matter how long you've known each other, you're not a mind reader. Talk about your grievances, anxieties, hopes, dreams, and fears. Also, to me, a marriage isn't about compromise, it's commitment. We compromise in our efforts to make each other happy, not in our efforts to make ourselves happy, if that makes sense. I already know the things my wife won't like, so I limit them, or talk early about something coming up I'd like to do. In the end, we decide I either go it alone because she's not interested, don't go because we're in a pandemic, or something in between. Sometimes she's the one who brings it up, but I shoot it down for the same reasons. But we try to make each other happy, and just try to see who's making the most sense at the time.